I believe taxes need to be readdressed. Once upon a time, they brought up the idea of a flat tax, and then it just got dropped. I think that we need to bring that back up and have a serious conversation.
Ohio actually, through executive rulemaking, has become one of the most regulated states in the country. It's hurting our businesses, it's hurting their productivity, and it is preventing the growth that we really deserve to have here in Ohio with our workforce and with the people who make this state great.
I find it curious that we are one of the most regulated states in the nation, as was pointed out, because we have Republicans that have the majority of the House, the Senate, and the governor's mansion. How does that happen with Republicans in the majority? It's not a conservative principle. Again, we need to deregulate, and we need to deregulate not only our businesses, but our schools, and give local control back to the local officials.
I think the fair thing to do is to put it to a vote to the people. The people that have to listen to it, you know, they say that it's a nice quiet. No, it's like living next to the airport. I can throw a rock and hit two of them from where I live. They are somewhat noisy. It's an alternative energy source that if it did not have federal financing, it would not be sustainable. Honestly, I think that the program needs to be pulled and we need to find better assets for our money.
And so what I've done at the state level, representing the 1st District, which will be affected by this more than any other Senate district, is we've actually done what Bob just mentioned. We're crafting an amendment to require the opportunity, if the voters want it, to be able to go to the polls and decide once and for all if they want this in the affected area. Because this is not just, I will never argue that there is a huge economic benefit to the area when these things come in, but at its very core, this is a land use and land rights issue.
But I also think we need to start looking at a moratorium until these wind turbines can prove that they're self-sustaining. Because we don't want government subsidies to last forever. That has to stop at some point. So until that they can prove that they can sustain themselves and make a profit on their own, just like any other business, there's going to be a time that we have to bring an end to wind turbines.
Prosecute. You know, like I said before, until we start throwing people in jail for breaking laws, this isn't going to stop. You know, I mean, at the federal level, how many times has our Congress held hearings, you know, just to get to the root of the problem? And then it's like somebody with ADD, oh, squirrel. You know, we get off on something else. You know, prosecute them, put them in jail. That's the only way you're going to get this to stop.
I want to make it clear, I do not condone anything that's gone on down there. I think it's disgusting, particularly as the father of a daughter. I can't imagine her being treated the way that that some of the things that have gone on down there. And many of these people I know, which makes it even more disgusting to me. We need to have greater accountability. We need to have greater transparency. We've started with doing sexual harassment training, but that's not enough. There needs to be the zero tolerance policy. There needs to be an understanding amongst everybody that this will not be tolerated anymore.
I believe it's part of the culture down in Columbus. It needs to change. And one of the ways you change the culture is to change the people that are down there.
Well, I've been a very strong believer in regulations are doing nothing but taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. Again, they can't prove that a single law has stopped a single shooting. If you look at the last 20 big shootings, up in the age to 21 from 18 would not have stopped a one of them. The taking away AR-15s. Well, I'll tell you, I'd rather face an AR-15 than an AK-47. It's a much more powerful rifle. I'm a strong believer that actually the best thing to do would be to repeal all the gun laws except the Second Amendment. Like I said, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
I personally believe that we need to enforce the laws that are already on the books. This is something that all of these laws that seek to take guns from people or seek to remove the Second Amendment rights from people or the gun buybacks, all they're going to do is take guns away from law-abiding citizens. The truth of the fact is that gun ownership has gone up drastically, and it's been well documented, particularly during Barack Obama's presidency, that it went up drastically. The homicide rate in this country has plummeted in the last 20 to 25 years. So the truth of the matter is that more guns doesn't necessarily correlate with more gun violence. And I share the belief that a good guy with a gun is the best way to stop a bad guy with a gun.
I am a concealed carry permit holder. I do have my weapons, although I don't have it here, because that would be illegal to bring it here, so I didn't bring it here with me. I do think that's a problem, because I agree with both of them. A good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. And I've come to the point, after what happened in Florida, that we should be allowed, and we do allow educators, if the school board permits, for educators to carry concealed weapons. I don't know how many people understand that, but I've got 6 points, including the Board of Education would have to agree to it, the educator would have to volunteer to do it, and not be asked. An administrator would have to approve of it. There'd only be one in a hallway, so they're not shooting each other if something was to happen. The educator would have to submit to training that would be approved by the sheriff, and I went through more than concealed carry training. I took myself to FASTER as well. And the educator would have to holster that gun as soon as law enforcement showed up.